Nikolai once again, and I'm doing my third entry to the audio log for my class workshop. And this one will be pretty short because I guess I had a very different kind of class than I usually would expect. It turns out that the room that I was using was already rented out, and we were forced to be using a little police office for our room. And we covered the floors and everything with plastic, so everything was clean and everything. So we didn't make a huge mess, but it was basically just me and two students, and it definitely was a little odd to be using this office, and it was to the point where I didn't even work in the class that day. So I had my two students get to work. As usual, I had them bring in their old their pictures that they wanted to do, and the whole idea was that they were to look at the picture that they had done the week previous, and they were going to observe the painting and try and mimic things on a new painting based on what they saw in the painting, the previous one, I mean. So in other words, you're studying one painting to create another. You're studying the aspects of how the painting was applied without using the objects, without even thinking about the objects if they're there. And you're just supposed to compose a new picture based on what you see. Just studying how you applied the paint on your previous picture. But I didn't feel like I could work in that room because my work tends to be rather large, and I wanted to display the 4 panels that I had been composing from the BOTS series so that I could make a proposition to the rest of the class. However, without the rest of the class there, I can't talk to them about it yet. I have 2 ideas that I want to do as collaborative projects, and I want to make sure that I get that the rest of them kind of get the idea of what I'm talking about. So I can't give them, material homework, to go pick up what kind of canvas I tell them to pick up and things like that. Not until they're all there, because one student did have an excuse of why she wasn't going to be there, and one student just didn't show up. And probably I tried to make sure that I saw every student that I needed to find. That they probably looked inside and saw that they couldn't find us, and so they went home. And I just kind of thought to myself that I need to be more on the ball of who's using the room, and make sure that I keep in better contact with my students. I have I think 3 of the emails, and the one that did not show up, I don't think I have an email from, so it's going to be kind of tricky to figure out how I'm going to be able to do things like that, unless I really just say, hey, I need to be in better contact if things like that happen. So in terms of just the class, I spent most of the class just observing and talking, and I was trying to teach them something, get them ready for what I have in mind for this collaborative workshop that I want to do. 2 of them, actually. And the idea was that I wanted to just be an observer, one who gives suggestions, one who kind of motivates by watching. So in other words, I played the role of the audience, which is what artists have said is the 50% of the responsibility when it comes to art. So I had this one portion where they were painting, and they get really hung up on details, and they paint kind of slowly, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when you have 2 hours to work, you sometimes have to compromise and just sort of let your unconscious just let it loose. And I told them, okay, 15 minutes, you guys have to do as much as you can in 15 minutes. I want you to apply as much paint as you can and as many different colors as you can. Try to work a little more ferociously at your picture. And if you make mistakes, just don't worry, you can go back and fix them. And I got some fair results out of that. I don't know how the other students work, but I have to teach them how to work a little bit more quickly to get the marks down, so that at least they have something they can kind of work with. And sometimes when you make just more sporadic applications to your picture, you can compromise if you will let things go, which is what many great painters and paintings show. I remember a Toulouse-Lautrec that has, it's a circus scene, and you look at the ringmaster, and the white above his head compared to the white around his body and the floor is a different color. It's an off color. And Toulouse-Lautrec probably just looked at that and said, it's done. I'm done. I'm gonna let it go. It looks fine. It's getting its point across. I don't need to do anything else. So it's making those kind of compromisations, because if your picture speaks well enough from a distance, then you can usually let go of very strange little details that only the painter sees when they're really close to the picture. So you have to step back from the picture, not constantly, but every once in a while. Just make sure that you kind of relate to what it looks like when stepping back. What's the full picture, opposed to just living in it. So I wanted them to learn how to paint a little faster, more sporadically, so that I might have to call on them to be the first ones for my collaborative project, so the other two watch and get an idea of what I'm expecting the rest of the class to do. And I hope it turns out real well. I talked to my supervisor, my boss, about it. She likes the ideas. I have two ideas that I think will be fun to do. I think they'll have really fascinating results, because since I have a class full of different talent ranges, from beginner to mild beginner to a student in college to someone who's been painting for years and is an art teacher. So I think that should be a really interesting result. So I don't know if they listen much to these audio logs. I don't think really anyone listens to these audio logs very much. That I hope, if you're listening, that I'm preparing to do some somewhat experimental ideas for the workshop, and mainly it's just to have fun, just so you can have something to do that it's a little more than just sitting down and painting a picture. It's more of a group collaborative that you learn from watching other people paint. You learn from listening to other people talk as you paint, and it's some things that I've kind of learned to apply when I'm doing plein air, because I have to work really fast when I do plein air contests. So that's pretty much what I did for my class in the third one. I would say that I wish things would have been a little differently, but I made do with what I had. And I hope that when the next class comes up, that everyone's there. I hope all students are there, that I can explain this project, because I'm really excited about it. Really excited. I can't wait. I really want to see how these things go. And I'm not going to talk about it through the log, because I really want to be able to explain it well when I first when I unveil it to them. And I've already talked over the supervisor, and that was sort of my audition tape for it, sort of my practice reel. So that's pretty much what I did, and I thank you for whoever took the time to listen to my log, and I hope that later the logs get more interesting when I show what I've been doing, what I've been thinking about, and what the result is for these collaborative painting projects. So have a good week, and I hope to see all my students next Saturday, and take care. Bye.